Well, it's been raining pretty good, pretty hard now. At the moment, it is. It's for about an hour. I got here in time, and yeah, made a cup of delicious decaffeinated coffee, and went out to have a couple of smokes. And I was sitting there on the bench under the big overhang awning and entryway, and I noticed off to my left, guy comes walking up, and I can tell he's homeless, and I can tell at a distance he's saturated. And for a moment, I think poor sod, to use a Australian or English term. And then in a split second, I realized, fuck no. No, fuck this guy. He didn't prepare, he didn't plan. It's pretty common knowledge it was going to rain today. And there's a 7-Eleven right over there. If he's begging somewhere in the area, had to wait till later today, they had enough money. I don't know anybody giving out, unless he's under one of the underpasses or something. He probably made a cash deal at the desk because this is the day to kind of do that. One guy just checked in. He had to repay when he got here. I didn't have to. I paid in advance. It was deducted from I checked my bank balance. I do these things right. But the guy only had got he walked into that lobby just dripping fucking wet. Backpack wet. All his jacket, everything he had on was wet. And enough to maybe cause a slip, And like I said, most of them 7-Eleven owners, the homeless person, stuff like that, if he asks you, they've got 50-gallon trash bags. All you have to do is make one little tiny hole and pull it tight over your head. If you do it right, it'll actually almost completely cut off any water getting into your. Only thing that's going to get wet is your head. You can pull it down over your shoulders, over his backpack too. All he had was a small backpack and like a little cooler that you might put in a 6-pack of beer. And that's probably what was in there. You can get a very durable, I have one, parka. It might be flaming red, but that's kind of what you want. You can get a very durable parka at Walmart that fits a guy my size for $5. And any 7-Eleven, if you ask them politely, as the rain begins or something, they'll give you a trash bag, and that he doesn't know how to make a. I'm sorry, I lost all sympathy for him there in just a split second of realizing that he's soaked wet due to his own failure to plan. I've always been a planner and calculator. There's only been a couple of times where I've been caught. There was one time on a mountain in Arizona and stuff. I camped, and even though I just didn't think it would get that bad that night. Wasn't fully prepared because I didn't have a good insulator from the ground. Cold comes from the ground up. If you're laying on cold ground, it got down to around 10 degrees that night on that mountainside. It was a mountain. It was above. It was a couple thousand feet. And I didn't sleep, but I survived. I was dry. It's Arizona after all. It wasn't monsoon season. And I did have an Army, what they call an Army mountain feather bag. I'm sure it's probably chopped chicken feathers, but those things aren't cheap. Army pays a ton of money for those. And that bag still, without the shroud for it, and without a poncho or something else to give me some slight insulation from the ground, I was miserable that night and was happy to get back out on, what was it, like, it wasn't Interstate 10, it was up north. I was happy to get out and get back to hitchhiking, get inside and by the, before the end of the day, there'd been, at least a 50-degree swing in temperature, but I rarely am ever caught unprepared because I got plenty of time to think and prepare. I'm not out there scheming. And so I had sympathy for this guy for all of about 3 seconds. He's not trying hard enough. He's wearing camo pants, dark. Yeah, I'm wearing dark on top, but you can see I get, and I know I'm welcome here. I pay in advance every time before I come here and stuff. It's the last time the guy pissed me off because he said, well, they still do like take a photocopier. They run your card to have it in their machine in case you do some damage or something. They're going to try to come at you. But when you're using a debit card, they can't do that. I've only agreed to contractually to pay for tonight, and that's it. I've not. They may have some kind of a damage contract that I signed in the process of this, electronic exchange. But good luck trying to collect it. Same way some hotels try to get $100 deposit. That only works on credit cards, not on debit cards. My bank won't accept that shit. They're not going to do that. So I'm about ready to get unclothed, and I'm going to spend an hour shaving in that shower. And before that, I'm going to trim my hair. And it'll only be the preliminary trim. I'll have to do better after it dries out and stuff. But until I go to bed, usually I can only stay away from them cigarettes for about an hour before I get the craving to do them again. And it's going to take me an hour. And I got all kind of little things like my filthy fingernails. They got to be trimmed. I got 100 little tiny chores that have to be done. The biggest one is laundry. And they've got me real close to the laundry room this time, and they've guaranteed that they've been serviced. That dryer is going to work this time. So it's really a nice hotel. I wish they'd just, especially considering it's January and there's nothing happening around here, I wish they'd come down on their rates a little more. So a lot of people, this is a sweet kind of a situation. Last time I was here, met a guy who's doing long-term work at Samsung, and that's all he does is invest his money in real estate, work. He has a family. His family's in San Antonio, but he has to be here, be ready to be on site at 6 o'clock every morning. He comes in early. He falls asleep watching TV. He gets up. He bathes. He's off to work. He gets daily maid service, and of course, his company or whatever is paying, his employer is paying for it. Otherwise, it's not cheap to stay here for a month. And we had a guy that just came in. We had 2 homeless people. So there's really, right now, there's probably only a total. One group came in a car. There was like about 4 of them, all of them Chicanos. And even they chose this over other hotels around here. One of them looked kind of sheepish. He was walking in there. First I thought he was a homeless guy, but he was a little too dry. He was walking in there with just you could tell they were probably on some work site, and they had to knock off early. Because by 2:45 or so, there's Bruno. I think we are getting, I think so is, he misspelled the word. So that's it. I had 1 minute of sympathy for a man my size who could have easily prevented, all of his clothing from just being sopping wet. And that's not cool to go into a hotel when you maybe haven't bathed in a few days and you're sopping wet. But of course, if you're paying cash at the desk like he probably was, you're more than welcome. Just go to your room and get cleaned the fuck up. But I don't see where it's going to come from. He could only maybe have 1 change of clothes in that pack. But he can stay inside, wash those clothes, and I hope he doesn't beat me to the laundry. Because I'm not going to laundry for about another hour. I can wait till this evening. I've taken way too long here, almost about 10 minutes, but that's what this is about, was just 3 seconds of sympathy. Not empathy, sympathy for an idiot who couldn't keep himself dry. I usually always carry trash bags, dude. The big ones. Later.